The night sky over the mountains burned with unnatural light. Min looked up from his patient charts, watching through the hospital window as something streaked across the darkness. It was too slow for a meteor, too bright for an airplane. The object left a trail of purple fire as it fell toward the forest beyond the valley. "Did you see that?" Wu rushed into the emergency room, her white coat still spattered with blood from their last surgery. "What was it?" Min grabbed his jacket. "I don't know, but it crashed close, maybe 2 kilometers from here. We should call it in." "We will, after we check if anyone needs help." He was already moving toward the exit. As a trauma surgeon, his instincts wouldn't let him ignore a potential emergency. Wu hesitated only a moment before following. They took Min's truck down the rough mountain road. The forest was dark and quiet, but ahead, an orange glow flickered between the trees. Smoke rose in thick columns. When they broke through the tree line, both doctors stopped and stared. It wasn't a plane. The craft was like nothing Min had ever seen. Smooth metal curved in impossible shapes, colored deep black but reflecting light in strange rainbow patterns. Parts of it were crumpled from impact, and a hole had been torn in the side. Purple liquid dripped from the damaged hull, burning small holes in the ground where it landed. "This is impossible," Wu whispered. "This is not human technology." Min approached carefully, his medical bag in hand. "If someone survived, they need help now. We can figure out what it is later." The entrance was a jagged tear in the hull. Inside, emergency lights pulsed weakly. The corridor was small, designed for someone roughly human-sized. Min moved forward, Wu close behind. The air smelled strange, like ozone and flowers. They found her in what looked like a control room. She was collapsed against a chair, her body slumped at an angle that meant serious internal damage. But she wasn't human. Her skin was pale blue-gray, and her hair moved on its own like it was underwater. She wore armor made of that same strange metal, now cracked and leaking. Most shocking was the blood. It pooled around her, thick and violet, shimmering with its own light. "She's still breathing," Min said, kneeling beside her. "Barely." The alien's eyes fluttered open. They were completely silver, with no visible pupil, and they focused on Min with desperate intelligence. She tried to speak, but the words were musical and incomprehensible. Her hand grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. Wu scanned the room, finding what looked like medical equipment. "There's supplies here, but I can't read any of this. The symbols mean nothing." Min examined the wounds as best he could. Multiple fractures, severe internal bleeding by the look of it, and her breathing was failing. "She's dying. We need to stop the bleeding and get oxygen to her organs." "How? We don't know her biology. We could kill her trying to help." The alien's grip on his wrist tightened. She pulled his hand to her chest, where her heart beat irregularly under his palm. Then she looked at him with those silver eyes and said one word he could understand. "Please." Min made a decision. Life is life. Blood carries oxygen. Her circulatory system has to work on similar principles or she wouldn't be bleeding out. He pulled out a tourniquet from his bag. "I'm going to try something desperate." "What are you thinking?" "A transfusion. Human blood to buy time for her body to heal itself." He was already setting up an IV line. "Look at her. She's humanoid. Her blood is different, but it's still blood. If I can get volume and oxygen into her system, her own biology might take over." "That's insane. You could kill her. You could kill yourself. We don't know if human blood is toxic to her species." "Then she dies for certain if we do nothing." Min inserted the needle into his own arm, then carefully found a vein in the alien's arm. Her blood was warm, warmer than human. "I've made harder calls in surgery. Sometimes you have to try." The blood began to flow. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the alien gasped, her back arching. Light began to pulse under her skin, following the path of her veins. Min felt a shock run through him, like electricity but not painful. It was warm and strange, and suddenly he could feel her heartbeat as if it was his own. Images flashed through his mind. A city of crystal towers, 3 suns setting over an ocean, a man with a crown placing his hand on her shoulder, hundreds of faces watching her leave in a ship. Then pain, fear, darkness. Min, Wu grabbed his shoulder. Your eyes are glowing. He blinked and the visions faded. The alien's breathing had steadied. Color was returning to her skin, which shifted from blue-gray to a healthier silver tone. The worst of her wounds seemed to be closing on their own, tissue knitting together with impossible speed. It's working, he breathed. A sound from outside made them both freeze. It was mechanical, powerful. Another ship was landing. This one was larger, and through the torn hull they could see it was sleek and undamaged. A door opened and figures emerged, tall and armored, moving with military precision. We need to go, Wu said urgently. But the alien held Min's wrist. She spoke again, words he didn't understand, but her meaning was clear in the way she looked at him. Stay. You saved me. Stay. The soldiers entered the ship. There were 4 of them, each carrying weapons that hummed with energy. They saw the scene and their reaction was immediate. The leader pointed his weapon at Min and spoke in that musical language, his tone harsh and angry. The alien princess, because that's clearly what she was, pushed herself up. She was still weak, but her voice carried authority. She spoke rapidly to the soldiers, gesturing at Min. The leader argued back, his weapon still trained on the human doctor. She pulled herself fully upright and said one word that cut through the argument like a knife. The soldiers' posture changed immediately. They lowered their weapons but didn't look happy about it. The princess turned to Min. She placed her hand over her heart, then reached out and placed it over his. That strange warmth flowed between them again. Then she spoke in her language, but somehow in his mind, he understood the concept if not the words. Life debt, blood bond protected. The lead soldier spoke to Min in broken, accented English. You come. Princess Ra demands. You are bound now. You come to answer for what you have done. Min looked at Wu, then at the alien soldiers, then at the princess who had just saved his life as much as he had saved hers. Everything had changed in the space of an hour. He had given his blood to save a dying stranger. And somehow he knew his quiet life was over. 3 months had passed since the night in the forest. Min stood in his apartment bathroom staring at his reflection. His hand moved in a blur, faster than should be possible, catching the glass he had deliberately knocked off the counter. He had been testing himself for weeks now. His reflexes were different. Everything was different. The dreams were the worst part. Every night he saw alien worlds, crystal cities, vast ships moving through space. Sometimes he felt emotions that weren't his own, a mixture of duty and fear and loneliness. He knew somehow that they were her emotions. Ra, the princess he had saved. His phone rang. It was Wu. Turn on the news, she said without greeting. Her voice was tight with stress. They're here. Min switched on his television. Every channel showed the same thing. A massive ship hung in the sky over Seoul, larger than any aircraft carrier. Its surface was that same black metal that shifted with rainbow colors. The news anchors could barely contain their panic and excitement. First contact. Alien life. The Empire had come to Earth. The broadcast cut to a government spokesman. The representatives have made a formal request. They are demanding the presence of Dr. Min for crimes of biological contamination against their royal bloodline. We are currently in negotiations. Min's blood went cold. They had come for him. His door burst open. His sister Haewon stood there in her military uniform, her face pale. Pack a bag, now. We don't have much time. What's happening? The government is going to hand you over. Haewon moved through his apartment quickly, pulling down the blinds. I work in intelligence. I've seen the classified files. They have laws about genetic purity. You contaminated their princess with human blood. They consider it a crime punishable by death. She was dying. I saved her life. That doesn't matter to them. and our government is desperate to make a good impression with an advanced alien civilization. You're going to be their peace offering." Hayone grabbed his arm. "I have contacts. We can hide you, get you out of the country." Before Min could respond, his apartment filled with light. A beam of energy surrounded them both, and suddenly they were somewhere else. The room was circular, made of that shifting black metal. Through the windows, Min could see Earth below them. They were on the ship. 6 soldiers surrounded them, weapons ready. Hayone reached for her sidearm, but Min stopped her. "Don't. You'll only get us both killed." A door opened. Ra entered and Min's breath caught. She was exactly as he remembered, but more so. She wore robes of deep purple that seemed to flow like liquid. Her silver eyes found his immediately, and he felt that strange warmth bloom in his chest. The bond. He could feel her relief, her determination, her worry. "Princess Ra," the lead soldier said in English, "this is unauthorized. The human is designated for interrogation." "The human has a name," Ra replied, also in English, though her accent made the words sound musical. "Dr. Min, and he will not be interrogated. He will be protected under the law of life-debt. The council has ruled against you. The contamination of royal blood cannot be overlooked. Ancient laws or not, the purest faction demands justice." Ra's expression hardened. "Then the council will hear from their princess directly. I invoke my right to bring Min to thee as a candidate for the royal guard. It is the only precedent for blood bonding with an alien species." The soldier looked like he wanted to argue but couldn't. "The trials will kill him. He is human, weak." "That is for the trials to decide, not you." Ra turned to Min. "I am sorry. I fought for 3 months to find another way, but the political situation in my empire is complicated. There is only one path that keeps you alive. You must come with me to my world and attempt the proving. If you pass, you become part of the royal guard and the blood bond is legitimized. If you fail—" "I die anyway," Min finished. "Yes." Hayone stepped forward. "You can't take my brother. This is kidnapping." "He will die if he stays on Earth," Ra said gently. "Your government has already agreed to turn him over to justice. At least this way he has a chance." Min felt the truth of her words through their connection. She had been fighting for him, putting her own position at risk. The dreams he had been having, they were real, pieces of her life bleeding through their bond. "How long do I have to decide?" he asked. "Hours. My rivals are already arguing that I have overstepped my authority by bringing you aboard." Ra stepped closer. "I know this is unfair. I know you saved my life and this is how you are repaid. But there are forces in my empire that see any mixing of bloodlines as an abomination. They sabotaged my ship, hoping I would die. When you saved me, you became part of their target." Wu's voice came through Min's phone, which was still connected. "Min, are you there? The government just issued a statement. They're cooperating with the demands. They're saying you committed an unauthorized medical procedure on an alien dignitary." Hayone's jaw tightened. "They're throwing you under the ship to save face." Min looked at his sister, then at Ra. Through their bond, he could feel the princess's genuine regret and her fierce determination to protect him. She had risked everything to offer him this chance. "If I go," he said slowly, "what happens to my family, my friends?" "They remain on Earth, unharmed. You have my word." Ra placed her hand over her heart in what he now recognized as a gesture of sincerity. "The blood bond means I am responsible for your welfare. Your death would dishonor me. Your success would prove that the old ways of my people need to change. And if I refuse, then I cannot protect you from law, or from your own government's willingness to sacrifice you." Min felt the weight of the choice. Leave Earth, leave everything he knew to face trials designed for alien warriors, or stay and face certain death. When he had given his blood that night in the forest, he had changed the course of his life without knowing it. Hayone grabbed his hand. "Don't go, we'll fight this together." But Min looked into his sister's eyes and shook his head. You know there's no winning this fight on Earth. The government has made its choice. He turned to Ra. I'll do it. I'll attempt your trials. Relief flooded through the bond, so strong it almost staggered him. Ra bowed her head. Thank you. I swear on my family's honor that I will do everything in my power to help you survive. Heywan's eyes filled with tears. This is insane. I'm a surgeon, Min said with a small smile. I'm used to impossible odds. He hugged his sister tightly. Tell Wu to keep my apartment. I'll be back. He wasn't sure if he believed that, but through the bond, he felt Ra's determination mirror his own. She believed he could survive. She believed he could prove himself to her people. And somehow, that belief made him stronger. The ship began to move, accelerating away from Earth. Through the window, Min watched his home planet grow smaller. He had given his blood to save an alien princess. Now he would give everything else to stay alive in a galaxy that saw him as an abomination. The stars awaited, and so did the trials that would either kill him or transform him into something new. There was called, and it took Min's breath away. 3 suns hung in a purple sky, casting the crystal cities in shades of gold and rose. Towers stretched kilometers high, connected by bridges that seemed to float without support. Everything gleamed with that strange shifting metal, and the air itself smelled sweet and electric. But Min had little time to appreciate the beauty. He stood in the training arena with 19 other candidates, all warriors who looked at him with barely concealed contempt. He was shorter than all of them, his skin a different color, his body clearly weaker. The other candidates wore training armor that gleamed. Min wore simple clothes that Ra had provided. The arena master, a named Al, paced before them. The proving consists of 5 trials: combat, endurance, intelligence, loyalty, and the trial of blood. You will be tested to your limits and beyond. Most of you will fail. The human will certainly die. One of the candidates stepped forward. He was taller than the others, his armor marked with symbols of rank. Master Al, why do we waste time with this abomination? He has contaminated Princess Ra's bloodline. He should be executed, not tested. Your opinion is noted, Al said dryly. But the princess has invoked ancient law. The human attempts the proving like any other candidate. If he fails, he dies in the trials. If he succeeds, he earns his place. That is tradition. Al glared at Min with pure hatred. Then I will ensure he fails quickly. The first trial began immediately. Combat. Each candidate would face a training opponent, a mechanical warrior programmed to fight at deadly speeds. Min watched the other candidates fight. They were fast, impossibly fast, their movements precise and brutal. Most passed. 3 failed and were carried from the arena with serious injuries. Then it was his turn. The mechanical warrior activated, its eyes glowing red. It attacked immediately, a strike fast enough that Min barely saw it coming. He dodged on instinct, that new speed he had developed saving his life. The machine adapted, pressing its attack. Min fell back, defending desperately. The human runs like prey, Al laughed. Others joined in. But Min wasn't just running, he was observing. As a surgeon, he had spent years studying movement and anatomy. The machine had patterns, weaknesses in its programming. It favored certain attacks. It always followed through on its strikes. When the machine lunged again, Min didn't dodge. He stepped inside its guard, using a move he had learned in medical school to control violent patients. He struck at the joint of the machine's knee, exactly where the mechanics would be weakest. The machine stumbled. Min followed up, using the machine's own momentum to throw it off balance, then delivered a precise strike to its power core. The machine shut down. Silence filled the arena. Al nodded slowly. Unorthodox but effective, the human passes. Al's face twisted with anger. The trials continued over the next week. The endurance trial pushed them to run through hostile terrain for 2 days without rest. Min's smaller size became an advantage. He needed less energy, could fit through tight spaces the larger couldn't. When 3 candidates collapsed from exhaustion, Min kept moving, his surgical discipline allowing him to manage his pain and push through. The intelligence trial was a complex puzzle involving alien mathematics and spatial reasoning. Min struggled at first, but his medical training had taught him pattern recognition. He approached the puzzle differently than the who had been taught traditional solutions. His creative thinking, his human ability to see problems from new angles, allowed him to solve it in a way that shocked the examiners. By the 4th trial, half the candidates had failed. Al remained, and his hatred for Min had grown with each success. The loyalty trial required candidates to choose between personal safety and protecting a simulated innocent. It was supposed to test honor and selflessness. Al approached Min before the trial began. "You think you're clever, human. You think your tricks will save you." He leaned close. "I am part of something greater. The purists will restore our empire to greatness. We will cleanse the contamination you represent." "You sabotaged Ra's ship," Min realized. "You wanted her to die. She and her weak-minded father would lead us to extinction, mixing our blood with lesser species. When you are dead, she will be next." The trial began before Min could respond, but now he knew the truth. This wasn't just about him. This was about a faction within the Empire trying to seize power. During the trial, Al made his move. The simulation was supposed to be safe, but Al had sabotaged it. When Min entered the test chamber, the training weapons were replaced with real ones. Al attacked with lethal intent, using the chaos of the trial to hide his assassination attempt. Min barely blocked the first strike. His training sword shattered. Al was faster, stronger, and armed with a real blade. "Die, abomination." But Min had been fighting for his life since he arrived. He had learned by watching, by adapting, and he had something Al didn't have: the blood bond. Through it, he felt Ra's presence, felt her strength flowing into him. His reflexes accelerated. His mind cleared. When Al struck again, Min moved with speed that shocked them both. He disarmed Al using pure technique, threw him to the ground, and held him there with a submission hold. The examiners rushed in, stopping the fight. Al examined the weapons. "These are real. This was attempted murder." Al was taken into custody, but not before shouting his beliefs. "The purists will rise. We will cleanse the empire of contamination. We will not let humans pollute our bloodline." The arena fell silent. The conspiracy was exposed, at least partially, but Min knew this was just the beginning. That night Ra came to his quarters. It was the first time they had been alone since arriving. "You were right to be cautious," she said. "Al has confessed under interrogation. There is a purist faction within our military. They want to overthrow my father and return to the old ways. Complete isolation. No contact with other species. They tried to kill you." "Yes, and you saved me, which made you a target." She sat beside him, and through the bond he felt her exhaustion and fear. "There is one trial left, the trial of blood. It will test the bond between us. If we fail, it proves the contamination theory. If we succeed, it legitimizes everything." "What does the trial involve?" "A joining of minds. We will face our deepest fears together, our bond laid bare for the examiners to see. It will be painful, intimate. You will see all of me, and I will see all of you." Min thought of Wu, of Haewon, of his quiet life on Earth that seemed so far away now. "I'm not afraid of that. I'm afraid of what happens if we fail." "Then we fail together," Ra said softly. She took his hand, and the warmth of the bond flowed between them. "You have proven yourself 100 times over. You are braver than most I know. Whatever happens in the final trial, know that I am honored to be bonded with you." The next morning would bring the trial of blood, but tonight Min felt something he hadn't felt since leaving Earth: hope. He had survived this far. He had exposed a conspiracy. He had proven that humans could adapt, could overcome. And he had a princess who believed in him. Tomorrow would test everything, but tonight he rested. The trial of blood took place in the Grand Temple, a crystalline structure at the heart of the capital city. Thousands have watched through transmitted feeds as Min and Ra entered the sacred chamber. Emperor sat on his throne, his silver eyes unreadable as he watched his daughter prepare for the final test. Min and Ra stood in the center of a circular platform. Ancient machines hummed to life around them, devices that would amplify and display their blood bond for all to witness. The chief examiner, an elderly named Ara, approached with a ceremonial blade. "The trial of blood will test the purity and strength of your connection," she announced. "You will share your minds, your memories, your very souls. The bond will be judged. If it is found corrupt or weak, you both fail." Ara cut both their palms, mixing their blood in a crystal bowl. The moment their blood touched, Min gasped as the bond exploded into full power. His mind merged with Ra's. He saw her childhood in crystal palaces, the weight of duty pressing on her from birth. He felt her loneliness, surrounded by people who saw only her title. He experienced her desperation on that damaged ship, knowing she was dying alone. And he felt her wonder when his blood had saved her, when for the first time she had touched a mind completely different from her own. She saw his memories too. Growing up in a small apartment with Haewon, their parents working long hours. His determination to become a doctor to save lives. The endless nights of study, the first time he lost a patient, the quiet satisfaction of successful surgeries, and that night in the forest when he had made the choice to try the impossible. Their fears intertwined. Hers that she would fail her people, that she was too weak to change an empire. His that he was inadequate, that he would die far from home without ever seeing his family again. But beneath the fears, something else emerged: strength, respect, trust. The bond wasn't contamination, it was connection. Two different beings finding common ground, making each other stronger. The display showed their merged consciousness to everyone watching. The examiners studied the data, searching for signs of corruption or weakness. Ara's eyes widened. This is impossible. The bond is not just stable, it's evolving. Their combined genetic signature is creating new patterns. Before she could say more, alarms shrieked through the temple. Explosions rocked the city outside. Through the windows, Min saw ships descending, military vessels opening fire on the capital. The purest uprising had begun. Soldiers in modified armor crashed through the temple walls. They wore symbols Min didn't recognize, but their intent was clear. They were here to kill the royal family. Emperor rose from his throne. "Protect the princess." Ra pulled Min behind a pillar as energy weapons fired. The ceremonial guards fought back, but they were outnumbered. The emperor's personal guard formed a protective ring, but purist soldiers kept coming. "We need to get you out of here," Min said. "My father is surrounded by guards. We need to survive so we can fight back." Through the bond, Min felt her conflict, but also her trust in his judgment. They ran through a service corridor as the temple burned behind them. They made it to a landing platform where a small ship waited. Ra's loyal guard captain was already there with 3 other soldiers. "Princess, the capital is falling. The purists have control of the military headquarters. We need to evacuate." "What about my father?" "He ordered us to get you to safety. He's being taken to the fortress." A's expression was grim. "But our intelligence suggests the fortress is compromised. The purists have been planning this for months." They launched into space as the city burned below. Min watched as crystal towers explode, and through the bond he felt Ra's anguish. Her world was tearing itself apart. "Where do we go?" she asked. I activated a star chart. There's an old colony world, abandoned for centuries. It has ancient military installations that might still function. We can regroup there. The journey took 2 days. During that time, they received fragmented reports. The emperor had been captured, not killed. The purists were broadcasting their message across the empire. The royal family had betrayed their people by allowing alien contamination. They promised to restore genetic purity and isolate them from all other species. Ra spent hours trying to contact loyal forces, but most of the military had sided with the purists or remained neutral. The empire was fracturing. The colony world was called Or, a frozen planet orbiting a dying star. The installations were old but functional, buried deep in ice. Ra and her small group of loyalists set up a base in the ancient command center. That night Ra sat alone in the control room, staring at tactical displays. Min found her there. Through the bond, he felt her despair. "I've failed," she said quietly. "The Empire is lost." "It's not over yet. Look at the numbers. The Purists control most of the fleet. They have my father. They're hunting anyone who supported contact with other species." She turned to him, and her silver eyes were dim. "And they're right about one thing. The Empire is dying." "What do you mean?" Ra pulled up genetic data. "This was supposed to remain classified, but there's no point now. They've been modifying our genetics for thousands of years, selecting for specific traits, eliminating diversity. We thought we were perfecting ourselves. Instead, we eliminated our ability to adapt. A plague is spreading through our population. It targets our modified genes. We're slowly going extinct." Min studied the data with a doctor's eye. "That's why you were traveling to Earth. You were searching for genetic diversity." "Yes. My father authorized secret research into genetic compatibility with other species. I was gathering samples when the purists sabotaged my ship." She laughed bitterly. "And then you saved me with your blood. Your unmodified, diverse, adaptable human blood. It didn't just keep me alive. It introduced variables our geneticists had never considered." "The blood bond," Min said slowly. "It's not just a connection, it's a genetic exchange." "Exactly. Your DNA mixed with mine, and the results are—" She pulled up new data from the trial of blood. "Unprecedented. The bond is creating hybrid genetic patterns that resist the plague. You're not contamination, you're a cure." Min sat down heavily. "The purists are killing themselves. If they eliminate contact with other species, if they maintain genetic purity, they'll go extinct." "Yes, but they would rather die pure than live contaminated." "Then we need to show them another option." Min's mind was racing, forming a plan. "We need to contact Earth. Humanity can help. We have genetic diversity in abundance, but we need allies and we need proof that the hybrid approach works." Ra looked at him with something like hope. "You think Earth would ally with us, after we threatened you, took you from your home?" "My sister works in intelligence. She'll understand the bigger picture. And Wu, my colleague, she's brilliant with genetics. If anyone can figure out how to scale the hybrid approach, it's her." He took Ra's hand. "But first, we need to rescue your father. The purists can't be allowed to control the Empire's legitimate ruler." Through the bond, he felt her despair transform into determination. "The fortress where they're holding him, it's heavily defended." "Then we'll need to be smart about it. I'm a surgeon. I know how to find weaknesses in systems." Min pulled up schematics of the fortress. "And I think I know some humans who would be very interested in a rescue mission." Ra contacted what remained of her loyal forces. Min sent an encrypted message to Earth, praying that Wu and Haewon would receive it and understand. The purists thought they were winning. They thought they had crushed the royal family and eliminated the contamination. They didn't know that the human they had tried to kill was planning a counterattack, and they definitely didn't know that Earth was about to enter the war. The attack on the fortress came from an unexpected direction. While purist forces watched the space approaches and scanned for ships, a small Earth vessel slipped through their defenses. It carried 12 human soldiers led by Captain Haewon and a medical team headed by Dr. Wu Park. Min watched the assault from orbit, coordinating with his sister through secure communications. The thermal scans show the Emperor is being held in the central tower, 3rd level. "Copy that," Haywan's voice crackled back. These purist guards are tough, but they've never fought humans before. They don't know our tactics. She was right. They had been fighting the same way for thousands of years. Rigid formations, energy weapons, traditional honor combat. Human soldiers used guerrilla tactics, explosives, and creative chaos. They moved in ways that didn't expect, taking routes that seemed impossible, using weapons the purists hadn't prepared for. Ra piloted their ship closer, providing covering fire. Her small, loyal fleet engaged the purist ships, drawing attention away from the human insertion team. The space battle lit up the darkness like fireworks. On the ground, Haywan's team breached the tower. Emperor was weak but alive, his guards dead around him. The purist leader, Eth, had kept him alive as a political hostage, broadcasting his imprisonment as proof of the old regime's failure. But Eth hadn't expected humans to stage a rescue. "Get the Emperor to the extraction point," Haywan ordered. "I'll cover your retreat." The escape was chaotic and bloody. 2 human soldiers died buying time for the others. Min felt each loss like a physical blow. These people had come to an alien world to help him, to help Ra. They were heroes. When Emperor was safely aboard Ra's ship, he embraced his daughter for the first time in weeks. Through the bond, Min felt her overwhelming relief and joy. But there was no time for celebration. The purist fleet was regrouping. "We can't win a straight fight," Ra said, analyzing tactical data. "They have too many ships." "Then we change the terms of engagement," Min replied. He had been studying purist communication patterns with Wu. "We need to hit them where it hurts, their ideology." That night they broadcast a message across all channels. Emperor spoke first, looking tired but determined. "My people, you have been lied to. The purists claim they will save our species through genetic purity, but I tell you the truth. We are dying. A plague spreads through our population, targeting the very genes we thought made us superior." Ra appeared next. "I am living proof that there is another way. When Dr. Min saved my life with his human blood, he did more than create a bond. He introduced genetic diversity that our species desperately needs. The blood bond is not contamination, it is evolution." Then Min spoke, his words translated into, "My people on Earth have a saying, strength through diversity. We are not as advanced as you. We don't have your technology or your long history, but we have something you've lost, the ability to adapt, to change, to survive by embracing difference instead of fearing it." Finally, Wu presented the scientific data. The hybrid genetic patterns created by the blood bond, the resistance to the plague, the potential for a cure if humans work together. Cold, undeniable facts. The broadcast reached millions across the empire. Many dismissed it as propaganda, but some listened. Some began to question. The purist leadership responded with rage. Eth himself appeared, his face twisted with fury. "Lies! The contamination speaks. We will cleanse this corruption from our empire." The purist fleet moved toward Earth, intending to destroy humanity before the alliance could form. It was a massive force, hundreds of ships. Ra's small fleet couldn't stop them. But Earth had been preparing. When the purist fleet entered the solar system, they found Earth's defensive grid active. Human ships, primitive compared to technology but numerous and unpredictable, swarmed the attackers. More importantly, several ships defected, joining Earth's defense. The broadcast had worked. The Empire was truly divided now. The battle raged for hours. Min and Ra fought side by side, their bond allowing them to coordinate their actions with perfect synchronization. They moved as one, anticipating each other's moves, covering each other's weaknesses. During the battle, Min noticed something critical. The purist flagship's shields operated on biological principles, using genetic material to modulate energy frequencies. It was brilliant engineering, but it had a weakness. The shields were calibrated for genetics only. "I have an idea," Min said, "but it's risky." Through the bond, Ra felt his plan before he spoke it. You want to use our hybrid genetics against their shields. Exactly. Our blood bond creates patterns their shields won't recognize. We might be able to penetrate their defenses. They modified a small boarding craft, coating it with samples of their mixed blood. The biological signature confused the purest shields, allowing them to slip through. Ra led a team onto the flagship while Min coordinated from their ship, feeding her tactical data through their bond. The confrontation with Eth happened in the flagship's command center. The purest leader was old, his skin showing the gray pallor of plague infection. When Ra faced him, he laughed bitterly. You come to gloat, contaminated princess. I come to offer you a choice, Ra replied. Surrender and receive treatment. The hybrid genetics can save you. Save me? Eth's laugh turned into a cough. I would rather die pure than live as an abomination. That is the difference between us. You fear death. I embrace it as the price of principle. You're not just choosing your own death, Ra said quietly. You're choosing the death of our entire species. Is your pride worth that much? For a moment, Eth's certainty wavered. Then he hardened again. Better extinction than contamination. He activated the flagship's self-destruct. Ra's team barely escaped before the ship exploded, taking Eth and hundreds of purist loyalists with him. It was a hollow victory. But it broke the purist offensive. Without their flagship and leader, the remaining ships scattered. Some retreated, others surrendered. A few joined the alliance. The immediate threat was over. In the weeks that followed, a new order emerged. Emperor proposed a treaty between the Empire and Earth. A voluntary genetic compatibility program would begin, overseen by both human and scientists. No one would be forced, but those who wanted to could participate in creating hybrid offspring with resistance to the plague. Wu and geneticists established research facilities. Heiwan helped organize joint military training. The first children of the program were born within a year, healthy and carrying the best traits of both species. Min stood on Earth 6 months after the battle, looking up at the night sky. Ra stood beside him, comfortable now in Earth's heavier gravity. Through their bond, they shared a moment of quiet peace. Your planet is beautiful, she said. So much diversity, so much life. It's home, Min replied, but I think of as home now too. Ra took his hand. The bond has grown stronger. Our geneticists say we're the template for the new generation. Half human, half children will carry our genetic signature. That's a lot of responsibility. We've handled worse, she smiled, a very human expression she had learned from him. We defeated an empire's prejudice. We helped 2 species find common ground. We changed destiny. Min thought back to that night in the forest when he had made the choice to try the impossible. He had given his blood to save a dying stranger, never imagining where that choice would lead. He had left behind his quiet life, faced death repeatedly, and helped prevent a genocide. Do you think it's really over? He asked. The purists, the conflict. Some will always resist change, but we proved that change is possible. That's what matters. Ra looked at the stars. There are other species out there, other civilizations watching to see if and humans can truly work together. If we succeed, we open the door for more alliances, more diversity, more strength. No pressure then, Min said with a laugh. Through their bond, they felt each other's hope and determination. The galaxy was vast and full of challenges. There would be setbacks and struggles. Some would never accept the hybrid program. Some humans would fear the aliens they didn't understand. But 2 species had found each other in the darkness. A human doctor and an alien princess had proven that differences could be strengths, and from their bond, a new future was being born. In medical facilities across both worlds, human and doctors worked together. In military academies, soldiers of both species learned from each other. In schools, children of both planets studied together, learning that the universe was bigger and stranger and more wonderful than anyone had imagined. And it all started because one man had chosen compassion over caution, had given his blood to save a life without knowing whose life it was. Min had changed destiny, and destiny had changed him. The stars above Earth shone brighter now, full of possibility. Somewhere up there, the first hybrid children were being born. Somewhere up there, two civilizations were learning to dance together instead of fighting. And down on Earth, in a quiet moment of peace, a human and a stood hand in hand. Their blood bond a promise of what could be when different worlds chose to embrace instead of reject, to grow instead of stagnate, to hope instead of fear. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly as it should be.